Welcome to Infinite Storyverse. In today's episode, prepare to be drawn into a story so raw, so hauntingly personal, that you might find echoes of your own shadows within it. This isn't just a confession. It is a reckoning, a truth unearthed after years of silence, shame, and the unbearable weight of secrets. This is the story of Rachel, and once you step into her world, there is no turning back. Chapter 1. The Face in the Mirror. Let me begin with something simple, something true. I never imagined this story would leave the confines of my journal, much less be spoken aloud. I still feel a tightness in my chest as I begin. Shame is a strange companion. It becomes a part of you, but silence can consume you. My name is Rachel. I'm 42 years old. On the surface, my life might seem like a page from a well-lived novel. I live in a tidy suburban neighborhood just outside of Columbus, Ohio. I work in human resources for a mid-sized tech company. On weekends, I volunteer at the local animal shelter. I drive a modest car, pay my bills on time, smile at my neighbors. For years, I was married to a man named Mark. We were college sweethearts, the kind of couple people quietly admired. We had dreams and plans and, for a while, a future that felt sure. We bought a house. We tried to start a family. That last part never happened, and it left a hole between us that we never quite filled. Mark is a good man, loyal, steady, the kind of man people say is a safe bet. And he was. But maybe that was part of the problem. Safe can turn into silent. Silent can turn into invisible. Over the years, we drifted apart. There was no catastrophic fight, no dramatic betrayal, just slow erosion. We stopped talking about anything meaningful, stopped laughing together, stopped touching. We became housemates sharing a schedule rather than a marriage. I told myself this was normal, that all long-term relationships go through seasons, that the magic comes and goes, and this was just a valley before the next hill. But in truth, I was lonely in a way I couldn't explain. I felt unseen, untouched, and somehow both too much and not enough at the same time. And then, last summer, everything changed. Chapter 2. The Arrival of Jason. It began with a simple phone call. My sister Claire was asking for a favor. Her son, Jason, had landed a summer internship in the city and needed a place to stay for a few weeks. He was 21, finishing college, and it made sense. He could save money, and Mark and I had a spare room. I said yes without hesitation. I hadn't seen Jason in over a year, and the thought of someone else in the house, someone young and full of life, felt like fresh air in a stale room. He arrived on a rainy Sunday afternoon, suitcase in hand, grin on his face. Jason had grown into a charming young man, quick-witted, funny, and attentive in a way that caught me off guard. He made jokes at the dinner table. He offered to help clean the dishes. He asked me about my day and genuinely listened. I didn't notice the shift at first. I was just happy to feel something again, to laugh, to engage, to be seen. But then, he started complimenting my outfits. His hugs lingered just a second too long. When we passed each other in the kitchen, his hand brushed mine deliberately. His eyes held mine a little longer than necessary, and I let it happen. Chapter 3. The night everything broke. Mark was away on a work trip. It was just Jason and me in the house that evening. We cooked dinner together, opened a bottle of wine, and sat on the couch watching an old black and white movie neither of us paid attention to. The air between us was electric, charged with the unspoken. I remember laughing at something he said, my hand on his knee without thinking. His hand found mine and didn't let go. And then, a kiss, soft at first, testing. I pulled away, my breath shallow, my heart pounding. This is wrong, I whispered. I know, he said, but he didn't stop, and neither did I. It only happened once. One night, one mistake. The next morning, we couldn't meet each other's eyes. He avoided me. I avoided myself. I stood in the shower until the water turned cold, scrubbing my skin like I could erase what had happened. When Claire arrived a few days later to pick him up, I smiled and hugged him goodbye like everything was fine. like I hadn't crossed a line I could never uncross. I thought that would be the end of it. But I was wrong. Chapter 4. The message. Weeks passed. I tried to shove the memory into the back of my mind and lock the door. I busied myself at work. I avoided Mark, who seemed more distant than ever. Then, one morning, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Jason. "We need to talk. I know what you did, and I need something from you." My stomach dropped. At first, I assumed he meant that night, but it became clear very quickly that he meant something more. During his stay, Jason had apparently stumbled upon something buried in the back of our home office drawer. A folder of old documents I'd long forgotten existed. Documents tied to a decision I made years ago during a particularly desperate time in our marriage. I had taken out a loan in Mark's name. Without telling him. We were drowning in bills back then. Mark was in between jobs. Panicked. I thought I could pay it off quietly before he ever found out. But I hadn't. I kept it hidden. And now Jason knew. Chapter 5. The leverage. Jason didn't threaten me explicitly. He didn't have to. The implication was clear. If I didn't cooperate, he'd tell Mark everything. About the loan. About the night. I was trapped. What he wanted wasn't illegal. Not exactly. But it was manipulative. Calculated. Cold. He wanted me to use my connections to get him a better internship. I did. He wanted money to cover tuition gaps. I sent it. He wanted gifts, expensive ones. I obliged. Always with the excuse of being a helpful aunt. Each favor chipped away at my soul. I lived. In fear, in shame, in silence. Mark began to notice. He'd ask why I was so withdrawn. Why I avoided him. I had no answer I could give. Chapter 6. The confession. Eventually, the guilt became too much. I sat Mark down one evening. My hands trembled. I told him about the loan. About the deceit. I didn't mention Jason. Not by name. Not yet. But I could see in Mark's eyes that he knew there was more I wasn't saying. He didn't yell. He didn't storm out. He just looked at me, his face hollowed by hurt, and whispered, "I don't know who you are anymore." We separated not long after that. Jason, he backed off once he realized I had nothing left to give. I haven't heard from him in almost a year. Chapter 7. The long road back. Since then, I've tried to rebuild. Slowly. Painfully. Therapy helps. Journaling helps. Time helps. But the shame clings like a second skin. I walk through my days with a quiet ache, trying to forgive myself, trying to understand how I let everything slip through my fingers. I'm not proud of what I did. Not that night. Not the years of pretending. Not the silence I thought would protect me. If I've learned anything, it's this. Secrets don't stay buried. They rot. And eventually they rise. Chapter 8. Why I'm telling you this. So why now? Why speak these words out loud? Because maybe you need to hear them. Maybe you're carrying something too heavy. Maybe you think telling your truth will destroy everything. Maybe you think you are unlovable, unforgivable. You're not. We are all human. We all break. But we can also rebuild. Telling the truth is the first step. Even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts. Chapter 9. The letter I never sent. In the quietest hours of the night, when the house is still and the world forgets I exist, I write. Not emails or journal entries, I write letters I will never send. Letters to Mark. Letters to Jason. Letters to the version of myself who still believed she could keep secrets without consequence. Sometimes I burn them. Sometimes I fold them into tight squares and hide them behind picture frames. It's not forgiveness, but it is a kind of release. The letter to Mark was the hardest. It started with "I'm sorry" and ended with "I loved you even in my silence." I doubt he'd believe that now, but it's still true. Chapter 10. Rebuilding without a map. Starting over at 42 sounds more poetic than it feels. I moved into a small apartment across town. A place with less square footage but more light. I took up yoga, not because I love it, but because it forces me to breathe. I joined a support group for women navigating betrayal, those betrayed and those who did the betraying. The stories blur sometimes. Pain is pain. Regret is regret. I listen more now. to others, to myself. Chapter 11. When Jason reached out again. It was a simple email. Hey, hope you're doing okay. I stared at it for hours. He wasn't asking for anything. Not this time. But the wound reopened. I didn't reply. Don't think I ever will. Some doors need to stay shut. Some ghosts don't deserve resurrection. Chapter 12. A new kind of silence. This silence is different. It's not the silence of fear or guilt. It's the quiet that comes after a storm. A stillness I'm learning to appreciate. My evenings are my own now. I cook small meals. I read books. I sometimes cry in the bath, but it feels clean, honest. Chapter 13. The woman in the mirror now. I look older, wiser maybe. There are lines around my mouth that weren't there before. My eyes hold more shadow but also more fire. I don't flinch at my reflection anymore. That might be the biggest miracle of all. Chapter 14. If you are still listening. If you've made it this far, maybe you're carrying something too. A decision you regret. A silence you wish you could break. Let this story be your permission slip. To speak. To confess. To rebuild. Chapter 15. The end, or maybe just the beginning. This isn't a story with a happy ending. But it's a story with a beginning. Again. I am Rachel. I made mistakes. I lost things I loved. I am still here. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough.